I'm going to take you back to a brief moment in time, not too long ago. Actually, it was just at the end of July when this phone, the Pixel 6a, came out. And a lot of people had a lot of opinions on it, but one of the most important things about that day was the trending 60 hertz on Twitter about how this phone was not good. The phone was a disappointment because it had a 60 hertz refresh rate. Now, this is generally considered a budget phone. The Pixel 6a is $449. You can get it less than $400. Lots of places now on sale. Yes, of course, Google likes to drop the prices. So, in contrast, we have the iPhone 14. The iPhone 14 is a $799 in the US phone. The iPhone 14 Plus is $899 introductory. Get your foot in the door. They go as high as over $1,000. 60 hertz refresh rate. I'm going to try and place context on this. I don't want to try and be petty about something. I don't want to point fingers. But in an objective world, when you look at a 60 hertz screen on the Pixel 6a, and then, oh look, I have my iPhone SE 2022, also a 60 hertz screen. I don't have an expectation for premium level budget phones to have a 60 hertz refresh rate. Yeah, if I get a Redmi phone, if I get a Poco phone, if I get a Xiaomi phone that's $200, they like to put that stuff in there. Of course, you can get that stuff much cheaper outside of the United States. Placing context back on this video, 60 hertz in the United States and a phone that costs $400 is pretty normal in most instances. Outside of like the Samsung Galaxy A53, which is a Samsung phone, it does have 120 hertz, but it really doesn't have a good processor. And those are things you have to take into consideration. The iPhone SE 2022 has an A15 in it. The Pixel 6a has the Tensor chip. They're much more powerful, much more better chipsets. So whenever you look at the iPhone 14 and you go, all these wonderful, amazing things, and then you don't hear people saying, oh, it's evil, it has 60 hertz refresh rate, get the holy water and the crucifixes and get Simon Belmont from Castlevania, we have to go storm Apple gates because this phone is evil and it's terrible. I mean, could you imagine if there were a review that comes out once they drop the embargo, which will probably be tomorrow. If you're watching this in the future, then it was in the past. When you talk about the iPhone 14 launch, there probably won't be as much emphasis saying this phone is a letdown because the screen is only 60 hertz. You probably won't hear that very much. If you do, I applaud whoever does. I will say it, but it's something that I don't think we should be getting wrapped around the axle on a $400 phone. I use the iPhone SE 2022 all the time. I'm recording with my iPhone 13 Pro. ProMotion display, 120 hertz refresh rate, fantastic phone. But I actually like my iPhone SE 2022 better. It's smaller, one-handed use, Touch ID. There's a lot of stuff I really like about it. So that's me. Individual preference aside, trying to look at it objectively, it's really difficult to not have scrutiny for an $800 phone, i.e. the iPhone 14 as it launches, and it doesn't have at least a 90 or 120 hertz refresh rate screen. And of course, the reason they do that is the same justification. It's not in the Pixel 6a because they want you to pay more money to get the more premium phone. In the past, the higher level flagships were associated with a higher refresh rate. Going back to Samsung, if you looked at the lower level ones, they didn't come on board with it initially. It was the flagship, the S20, S21, S22, so on and so forth. And I think that's totally fine. And I don't think you get a bad experience necessarily because you don't have 120 hertz. But again, the iPhone SE 2022 came out. I didn't hear a peep about 60 hertz on the refresh rate. The Pixel 6a came out and it was basically crucified in the court of popular opinion by lots of folks because it only had a 60 hertz refresh rate screen. So, and a lot of you might be sitting there watching this going, what is this idiot enamoring on about? 60 hertz, 120 hertz? What is that? Is that the processor speed? Is that the memory speed? I don't even know. Well, putting that also into context, a refresh rate is how many times the screen refreshes an image in 1 second. So you can kind of even take it, let's say 120 hertz is 120 times in a second. I don't know why they don't call it like 120s or something like that, but they would go with hertz. And traditionally, if you look at the iPhone 12, you look at the iPhone 13, look at the iPhone 11, the iPhone 6, the iPhone 3, your Panasonic TV at home, if you still have one of those, likely an older TV, 60 hertz refresh rate. That's what we've lived with for basically since the dawn of digital time. And now over the last couple of years, they put these higher refresh rates. Well, what does that do? What kind of benefit do you get from a higher refresh rate screen? Well, it makes for a smoother scrolling experience. It makes the screen look less blurry. So when you're scrolling in and out, you're going through Twitter and you're doing stuff like that, going through Instagram feed, watching videos, playing games, When there's motion on the screen, it refreshes twice as fast, twice as many times in 1 second, so it looks more smooth, it's less choppy, it's less blurry. Does that matter? Well, it doesn't fundamentally alter the experience, so it's not necessarily bad. And of course, we lived with 60 hertz for so long, who's to say whether it's good or bad? It's just a nicety. It's something that I enjoy. And it's one of those things where if I go out in the driveway, or if you go out in the driveway and you might have a nicer car and then you have an old beater car, or you might have an old slow car, you might have a fuel economy car, you might have a motorcycle. Well, there's kind of the same difference. If I want to drive something fast, I go get in the Supra. If I want to drive something that gets much better gas mileage and costs a lot less to maintain and is a cheap car that I can drive around and let my kids use, well, I'll get in the 2012 Mazda 2. And that's totally fine. They're designed for different purposes. So when you look at the Pixel 6a and the iPhone SE 2022, introductory, but not something that you have to scoff at because they have lots of power under the hood. Tensor chip, A15 chip, lots of power, lots of sophistication, lots of great things you get in a $400 phone. 60 hertz, I think, is fine at that price point. I don't want to make a big deal about this because the iPhone 14, it's going to have 60 hertz. And probably 95% of the people that buy it will think that's totally fine. If you want to get the 120 hertz, you can buy the Pro model. And that's why it's the Pro model. It's something a little bit extra. They give you the third camera. They give you like the Pro RAW that you can do with the 48 megapixel camera. Nobody's ever really quibbled too much that the more expensive model had extra features. But when you look downward, back down that scale, we shouldn't be saying $400 phones are not good or are a lesser experience for people who are using them because they only have a 60 hertz refresh rate. It's a very elitist tech phone argument. Now, yes, it is something that's proliferating more out into phones now. It's something that probably in the next couple of years, almost every phone will have a 90 hertz or 120 hertz refresh rate. And then we can lament on the dark ages of when we used to subject our eyes to looking at this painful 60 hertz refresh rate. It's not the end of the world. No big deal. It's just funny because less than 2 months ago, we have 60 hertz trending on Twitter because a $400 phone is being lambasted because it doesn't have it, which is completely outside the realm of the norm for what somebody buying a budget phone expects in the US. And then now we have interstage, right? The iPhone 14. Will it get the same level of treatment? I don't know. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, whatever. That's not what I'm here for. Just wanted to highlight that and let you know it's not bad because it has 60 hertz. The iPhone 14 is not bad because it has 60 hertz. The Pixel 6a is not bad because it has 60 hertz. The iPhone SE 2022 is not bad because it has it. It's apples and oranges. If you want the other one, go buy it. If you want the better experience, then you can go get it. Again, at some point in time, it'll probably be a universal standard. But some people still say they can't even tell the difference. I can tell the difference. I enjoy it. I prefer 120 hertz. But again, I use these. I use my iPhone SE 2022 every day. It doesn't hurt me going from 60 hertz to the 120 hertz on my Fold 4, my Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV. So that's all I got. I'm done here. No more talking. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully now you have an understanding of the argument, also the technology behind it, and what the benefits are, and why it's not that big of a deal if you have a 60 hertz screen. But just don't point fingers when you have a $400 one that doesn't have it, and then you don't point fingers when an $800 phone doesn't have it either. So that's all I got. Questions, comments, go down in the comment section. I will get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.